I had trained with Ryan Mercer 3 nights a week for almost 8 months, which meant I knew exactly how he behaved when I failed a rep. Usually he laughed. Not cruelly. Ryan just believed humiliation was part of proper gym etiquette. "Come on, Cole," he would say from behind the bench. My grandmother could finish that set. Then I would tell him his grandmother probably had better knees than he did. He would call me an asshole and we would move on. That Tuesday night was different. I was halfway through our final bench set when my arms started shaking. I forced the bar upward, got maybe 3 inches, and knew immediately I wasn't finishing the rep. "Ryan, I've got you." His hands closed around the bar. Together we guided it back onto the rack. I exhaled hard and dropped my head against the bench. "Okay," I said. "You're officially allowed 1 insult." Nothing. That alone made me look up. Ryan was still standing over me. One hand remained near the bar, but the other had landed against my side when he helped stabilize me. Normally, that wouldn't have registered. We spotted each other constantly. Hands on shoulders, backs, arms. None of it meant anything. Except Ryan wasn't moving his hand. And he wasn't laughing. He was looking down at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. Not concern. Not amusement. Something quieter. His eyes moved over my face, then lower for the briefest second before returning to mine. For one strange beat, neither of us moved. "Ryan." His hand left my side immediately. "Yeah." He stepped backward so quickly that I almost laughed. "You okay?" "Fine. You look like I'm the one who dropped a bar on you. That should have earned something. A joke. An insult. At least an eye roll." Instead, he grabbed his water bottle. "Let's finish." We still had accessories planned, but Ryan barely spoke through them. Every answer came short and distracted. Twice I caught him watching me in the mirror, and twice he looked away before I could decide whether I had imagined it. By the time we reached the locker room hallway, I was annoyed enough to ask, "Did I do something?" Ryan stopped. For half a second, that same unreadable expression returned. Then the familiar version of him snapped back into place. "No." "Why?" "You've been weird since the bench." "I'm tired." Ryan Mercer never admitted being tired. I stared at him. He gave me a quick slap on the shoulder, harder than necessary, and headed toward the locker room. "Thursday," he called without turning around. I watched him disappear through the door. For 8 months, I had never wondered what Ryan was thinking when he looked at me. After that workout, I couldn't stop wondering. Thursday evening, I walked into the gym determined to prove to myself that Tuesday had been nothing. Ryan ruined that plan before I reached the weight floor. He was already there. That was strange enough. In 8 months of training together, I could count on one hand the number of times Ryan had arrived before me. Usually I finished half my warm-up before he appeared with some excuse involving traffic, work, or his apparently complicated relationship with clocks. Tonight, he was standing beside our usual rack. "You're early," I said. "You're late." I checked the wall clock. "By 40 seconds? Still counts." There was the Ryan I knew. Almost. Then I noticed the rack. He had already loaded my warm-up weight. My resistance band was looped over the side exactly where I usually put it, and the bench had been adjusted to the setting I preferred. I looked at him. "What? You set everything up. So? You don't even put your own weights away. That is slander. It's documented fact." His mouth twitched, but his eyes stayed on me a second too long before he turned toward the rack. "Warm up, Cole." I told myself not to make anything of it. That became harder as the session continued. Ryan remembered that I had complained weeks earlier about my left shoulder tightening during overhead presses, so he changed the order of 2 exercises without asking. During squats, he watched every rep like he was personally responsible for keeping me alive. Whenever I caught him doing it, he found something else to look at. And when we finished the last movement on our plan, he checked the clock. "1 more set." I stared at him. "Of what?" "Rows." "We already did rows." So that's generally when people stop doing them." He was already adjusting the cable. I laughed and joined him. 1 extra set became another. Then Ryan decided we should stretch because, according to him, I had the mobility of office furniture. By the time I grabbed my bag, we had stayed almost 25 minutes longer than usual. Saturday? I asked. Yeah. I headed toward the exit. A few seconds after I stepped into the parking lot, I heard the door open behind me. Ryan caught up. I glanced back toward the gym. Forget something? No, locker room's the other way. I know. We walked toward my car. He shoved his hands into his pockets, suddenly looking less comfortable than he ever did with 200 pounds over his chest. When are you training next week? I stopped beside my car. Same days I always do. Monday. Ryan, we've had the same schedule for months. Right? He looked away. Tuesday's silence came rushing back to me. The hand against my side, the stare, the abrupt retreat. I leaned against my car door. You're taking this gym partner thing pretty seriously all of a sudden. Ryan gave a short laugh. Somebody has to keep you from killing yourself under a bench press. There it was, the joke perfectly placed like a door closing. But he had followed me into the parking lot just to ask a question whose answer he already knew. Monday, I said. Ryan nodded. Good. He turned back toward the gym. I watched him go, realizing I had spent the entire workout trying to convince myself Tuesday meant nothing. Now I had a different problem. Whatever had changed with Ryan, he seemed to be looking for reasons to spend more time with me. By Saturday afternoon, I had almost convinced myself I was overanalyzing Ryan. Then Marcus asked me out. Ryan and I were halfway through a cable circuit when Marcus wandered over between sets. I knew him well enough to exchange jokes with him around the gym, but not much beyond that. Ethan. Marcus. He smiled. You always this happy to see people? Only when they interrupt me while I'm suffering. That's actually why I came over. I laughed. Across from me, Ryan stopped adjusting the cable attachment. Marcus leaned against the empty machine beside us. I was wondering if you wanted to grab coffee sometime. For a second, I thought I had misheard him. Then I noticed the unmistakable expectation on his face. Oh, Marcus grinned. Hopefully that's not the entire answer. No, we've still got 3 rounds. Ryan's voice cut between us. Marcus looked at him. So did I. Ryan nodded toward the cable station. We're on a timer. We are. I asked. We are now. Marcus glanced between us, clearly amused. I can ask again when your coach releases you. He's not my coach. Could have fooled me. Marcus gave me another smile and stepped away. Think about the coffee. I will. The moment he was out of earshot, I turned to Ryan. A timer. You rest too long. You made me stretch for 20 minutes on Thursday. That was different. How? Ryan handed me the cable attachment. Are you training or conducting an investigation? I should have let it go. Instead, I spent the next 40 minutes noticing everything. Ryan barely joked. He pushed through his sets with an intensity that made conversation impossible, and every time Marcus crossed our side of the gym, Ryan somehow noticed. When we finished, I wiped down the bench while Ryan shoved his bottle into his bag. So, I said casually, Marcus seems nice. Ryan zipped the bag harder than necessary. You barely know him. That's usually why people get coffee. He interrupted our workout. So do women asking you about your tattoos? You never seem traumatized by that. His head came up. That's different. There was that phrase again. I folded my arms. Explain how. Ryan looked toward the other end of the gym. I don't know. He was hovering. He asked me one question. You said you'd think about it. I stared at him. Ryan seemed to realize what he had just said. Slowly, I smiled. Were you listening? You were standing 6 feet away. And apparently you were very invested. I wasn't invested. Right? Ethan. What? He rubbed a hand over the back of his neck. I just don't want some guy screwing up our training because he wants to flirt between sets. I laughed once, but Ryan didn't. That killed my amusement. You've never cared who talks to me before. I care when it affects the workout. It didn't. Ryan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time since Tuesday, I stopped wondering whether I had imagined the change. I still didn't know what it meant. Maybe Ryan didn't either. But coincidence was becoming a terrible explanation. Marcus had asked me for coffee, and somehow Ryan was the one acting like he had something to lose. Monday night, Marcus caught me near the water fountain before Ryan arrived. "Have you finished thinking about coffee?" I smiled. "You're persistent. I prefer efficient. Saturday works." "Then yes." Marcus grinned. "I'll take it." He walked away just as Ryan came across the gym floor. I knew from his face that he had heard enough. He dropped his bag beside our rack. "Ready?" "Sure." That was the last normal word he gave me for 20 minutes. Ryan attacked every set like the weights had personally offended him. He rushed his rest periods, added weight when he shouldn't have, and ignored me twice when I told him to slow down. Finally, after he finished a sloppy set and reached for another plate, I caught his wrist. "Stop!" His eyes dropped to my hand. I released him immediately. "What? You're training like an idiot." "I'm fine." "No, you're pissed off." "I'm not." I looked across the gym toward Marcus, then back at Ryan. His jaw tightened. There it was. "Is this because I said yes to coffee?" Ryan gave a humorless laugh. "You think everything is about you?" "No. Just the things you make incredibly obvious." He stepped away from the rack. "We finishing?" "Not if you're going to hurt yourself proving something." "I'm not proving anything." "Then quit acting like this." For a moment I thought he might argue. Instead, Ryan grabbed his bag. "Fine. I'm done." I followed him. We had gone to the smoothie place around the corner dozens of times after training, usually because Ryan claimed protein consumed anywhere else was somehow less effective. That night, we sat across from each other with untouched drinks between us. I waited. Ryan lasted maybe 30 seconds. "What?" "You tell me." "There's nothing to tell." "Then, why do you care if I get coffee with Marcus?" "I don't." "Ryan, I don't." I leaned back. "Okay, then explain the last week." His expression hardened. "What about it?" "You showed up early. You set up my equipment. You keep adding sets so we stay longer. You followed me into the parking lot to ask when I was training even though you already knew." Ryan looked down at his drink. "And Saturday you practically chased Marcus away from me." He was interrupting. "So are half the people who talk to us. You're my training partner." The answer came fast, almost rehearsed. "I don't want our routine getting screwed up because you start seeing some guy here." For 1 second it almost worked. Then I remembered something. When my work schedule changed a few months ago, you changed your Wednesday workout too. Ryan went still. I hadn't thought much about it at the time. He had said the new schedule suited him better. Now I wondered. I leaned forward. "Why? Why what? Why does keeping me as your gym partner matter this much?" Ryan's eyes finally met mine. I expected another joke. Instead, I saw the same expression he had worn standing over me after that failed bench press. The silence stretched. "Ryan." His throat moved. Then he looked away. "I don't know." It was the first answer he had given me all night that I believed. Wednesday night, Ryan and I managed almost an entire workout without discussing Monday. It was miserable. The gym was unusually quiet, and without our normal arguments filling the space between sets, every clank of a plate sounded too loud. Ryan kept his attention on the weights. I did the same. Neither of us added an extra set. Near closing, we finished and moved to the stretching area. I had decided to leave Monday alone. Ryan had admitted he didn't know why keeping me around mattered so much. Pushing him toward an answer he didn't have wasn't going to produce one. So I sat on the mat and stretched my legs. "Coffee's Saturday," I said. Ryan stopped. I almost laughed at myself. Apparently leaving it alone had lasted 30 seconds. "With Marcus. Unless another Marcus asked me out." Ryan stared at the floor. "Do you want to go?" "That's usually why people say yes." "That isn't what I asked." I looked at him. His voice had changed. No sarcasm. No irritation. Just something uncomfortably close to vulnerability. "Yes, I said. I want to see if I like him. Ryan nodded once. Then he said, I don't like that. My pulse jumped. You don't like Marcus? I don't like hearing about him. Why? Ryan dragged both hands over his face. I've been trying to figure that out since Tuesday. The failed bench press. Suddenly the room felt much smaller. What happened Tuesday? I don't know. You keep saying that. Because I don't. He looked directly at me. I was spotting you. I touched you. You looked up at me, and suddenly, he stopped. I noticed you differently. My mouth went dry. Differently how? Ryan laughed once, nervously. I had never heard that sound from him. You really need me to say it? Yes. His eyes held mine. I can't stop noticing you. There it was. Not an explanation exactly, but finally an answer. I stood slowly. Are you attracted to me? Ryan's expression tightened as though the question physically hurt. I've dated women my whole life. That wasn't my question. I know. Then answer mine. He stepped closer. For a second I thought he was going to argue again. Instead, Ryan lifted one hand and touched my face. Nothing about it could be mistaken for spotting me, correcting my form, or joking around between sets. His thumb rested lightly near my cheek. He paused there, waiting. I could have moved away. I didn't, so Ryan leaned in. The kiss was brief, almost cautious, and completely unlike anything I would have expected from him. When he pulled back, neither of us spoke. My heart was pounding harder than it had during the entire workout. Ryan lowered his hand. Well, I whispered. That answers part of it. He gave a breathless laugh. Yeah. Then his expression changed. I meant what I said, Ethan. I don't know what this means. You just kissed me. I know what that means. Good start. I mean everything else. He looked frustrated now, but not with me. I've always thought of myself as straight. Then Tuesday happened, and suddenly I'm looking at you like. He stopped. Like, what? Like I want to do that again. Neither of us moved. I wanted him to, but something in his face told me that another kiss would be easier for Ryan than the questions waiting behind it. So I picked up my bag. You don't have to figure everything out tonight. Relief flickered across his face. But you do have to figure out what you want from me. That relief disappeared. Ryan nodded. As we walked toward the exit, I understood that the question haunting me since Tuesday finally had an answer. Ryan was attracted to me. The problem was that answer had opened a much bigger question. If Ryan believed one workout had changed everything, what happened when he decided he wanted everything to go back to the way it was? By Friday, Ryan had apparently decided that taking it slow meant behaving exactly like someone who had kissed me while refusing to discuss what came after. He texted before I left work. Still training tonight? I stared at the message longer than necessary. You know I am. His reply came immediately. Good. When I reached the gym, he had saved our usual rack. Again, we started carefully. No jokes about Wednesday. No accidental references to the kiss. But pretending nothing had changed lasted approximately 12 minutes. Ryan smiled when I caught him watching me. Not the old careless grin. Something private. During my next set, he stood closer than necessary without touching me. Later, when we switched stations, his fingers brushed mine as he handed me an attachment. Neither of us pretended not to notice. Afterward, instead of heading toward the locker room, Ryan walked beside me toward the exit. You're doing it again, I said. What? Following me. I'm leaving. You normally shower first. Maybe I'm evolving. I laughed. Outside, we kept walking past the point where he usually turned toward his car. That was when Ryan finally said, Can we just take this slow? I stopped. He stopped too. I can do slow. His shoulders relaxed. But I'm not doing imaginary. What does that mean? It means you don't get to kiss me and then decide Wednesday never happened. I'm not doing that. Okay. I just need time. I heard you. Ryan nodded. Then, after a moment, Are you still getting coffee with Marcus? I looked at him. Apparently some things had not become less obvious. I haven't decided. Ryan tried very hard to look neutral. He failed. Over the next several days, the strangest part wasn't how different things became. It was how familiar some of them felt. Ryan texted me outside our normal workout logistics. He stretched sessions whenever neither of us had somewhere urgent to be. He saved the station beside him without asking. But those things weren't entirely new. I started remembering details I had never connected. Months earlier, when my work schedule changed, Ryan had moved his Wednesday session to match mine. Before we officially started training together, he somehow always seemed to finish warming up around the same time I did. And one more set had been Ryan's favorite phrase long before Tuesday. At the time, each thing had seemed insignificant. Now they formed a pattern I couldn't stop seeing. After Monday's workout, we stood outside the gym talking about nothing important for nearly 15 minutes. Eventually, I smiled. "What? You don't want to go home?" Ryan frowned. "I'm standing in a parking lot." "Exactly." He understood. His expression softened, but he didn't deny it. That almost made things worse. Because Ryan could choose my company. He could look at me like he wanted another kiss. He could rearrange pieces of his life so our routines kept overlapping. But he still couldn't tell me what I was supposed to be inside that life. And I was beginning to understand something he apparently hadn't. Whatever was happening between us might have become impossible to ignore after that bench press. But I wasn't sure it had actually started there. Friday evening should have felt normal. Ryan and I had trained on Fridays for months. Same gym, same general time, same arguments about whether his rest periods were too short and mine were too long. But normal had become impossible. I was finishing a set when Marcus approached. He glanced at Ryan, then at me. "Hey, are we still doing that coffee?" I set the weight down. Before I could answer, Marcus smiled slightly. I wasn't sure if something changed. His eyes moved between us. Ryan heard it. I knew because every muscle in his face tightened. Marcus looked at him. "You two seem pretty attached lately." There was an opening. A small one, maybe, but enough. Ryan could have said almost anything truthful. Instead, he laughed. "No, Ethan's just my gym partner." The word landed harder than it should have. Marcus looked at me. I forced a smile. "I'll text you." "Sure." He left us alone. Ryan immediately turned toward me. "Ethan, I need to finish." We completed the workout without another real conversation. For once, Ryan didn't suggest another set. Outside the entrance, he caught my arm before I could walk toward my car. "Wait." I looked at his hand until he released me. "That came out wrong." "No. It came out exactly how you wanted it to." "You know this is complicated for me." "I do." "Then why are you acting like I did something terrible?" "Because Wednesday you kissed me. Since then, you text me because you want to know I'll be here. You follow me outside. You get jealous when another guy asks me out. You keep finding reasons to stay with me." Ryan looked away. "And the second somebody notices," I continued, "I'm just your gym partner. I'm trying to figure this out. And I gave you room to do that. So what do you want me to say?" "I don't want you to say anything you don't mean." That finally made him look at me. "But I'm not going to be your almost boyfriend in private while you explain me away in public." His face changed. "I never called you that." "Exactly." Silence stretched between us. I had spent days worrying that pushing Ryan would cost me the friendship we already had. Standing there, I realized the opposite was happening. By accepting whatever scraps of certainty he could offer, I was letting him keep me close without ever choosing me. "I'm changing my training schedule," I said. Ryan stared at me. "What? Starting next week?" "Because of this?" "Because I need some distance." His disbelief turned into anger. "We've trained together for 8 months." "I know. You're throwing that away?" "No," I picked up my bag. "I'm stopping something that stopped being just training the second you kissed me." Ryan's jaw tightened. "This matters to me, Ethan." The words almost broke my resolve. "Almost. Then you don't get to call it important only when you're afraid of losing it." He had no answer. For months, our routine had been the safest thing between us. Same days, same rack, same stupid jokes. One more set whenever neither of us wanted the night to end. Now that routine was exactly what Ryan had been hiding behind. I stepped away. Don't wait for me Monday. For the first time since we became gym partners, I walked to my car without Ryan beside me. And this time, I didn't look back. Monday morning, I walked into the gym at 6:15 expecting the place to feel unfamiliar. That was the point. Different hour, different routine. No Ryan. Then I saw him standing beside my usual rack. For several seconds, I honestly thought exhaustion was making me hallucinate. Ryan hated mornings. He had once described anything before 7 as an administrative error. Yet there he was, hair still slightly disordered, coffee in one hand, looking like he had slept even less than I had. I stopped. What are you doing here? Waiting for you. I specifically told you not to. You told me not to wait for you Monday. His mouth tightened. Technically, this is me showing up Monday. I almost smiled. Almost. Ryan. I know. Something in his voice stopped me from walking away. He put the coffee down. You were right. About what? The workout. My chest tightened. Ryan looked at the empty rack rather than at me. I kept telling myself Tuesday changed something. That I touched you, looked at you, and suddenly this completely new thing happened. He shook his head. That's not what happened. I said nothing. You mentioned my schedule changing when yours did. His eyes finally met mine. That wasn't a coincidence. The words landed quietly. I changed Wednesdays because you changed Wednesdays. I stared at him. Ryan continued before I could answer. And before we started training together, I knew when you usually came in. You knew my schedule? Pretty much. Ryan. I know how that sounds. I'm still deciding how it sounds. A nervous laugh escaped him. I volunteered to partner with you because I wanted an excuse to talk to you. Suddenly 8 months of memories rearranged themselves. The conveniently open rack. Ryan appearing during my warm-ups. Every unnecessary argument that somehow became another exercise. One more set, I said. He looked embarrassed now. Yeah. How many of those did we actually need? Physically. Ryan. Probably not many. Despite myself, I laughed. Then he stepped closer, and the humor disappeared. Tuesday didn't make me want you, Ethan. It made me realize I'd been choosing you for months without asking myself why. There it was. The answer I had been circling since that night beneath the bench press. But I remembered Friday. Knowing that doesn't fix what happened. I know. I'm not going back to being something you want when nobody's looking. I know that too. Ryan took a breath. I still can't give you some perfect answer about what label fits me. I've spent 30 years thinking I knew that answer. I'm not going to lie to you just because I'm scared you'll leave. He paused. But I can give you an answer about you. My heart started beating faster. I want you. No joke followed. No training excuse. I want to take you out. A real date. Not smoothies because we happen to finish a workout. Not 15 minutes in a parking lot because neither of us wants to go home. He held my gaze. Will you go on a date with me? I wanted to say yes immediately. Instead, I said the thing that mattered. If I do, you don't get to turn me back into just my gym partner the next time someone notices. Ryan nodded. I won't. You sure? No, that surprised me. He stepped closer. I'm sure I want to choose you anyway. That was enough. Yes. His whole face changed. Yeah. Ryan reached for me, then paused. This time there was no failed repetition beneath us. No adrenaline. No accidental contact he could spend days explaining away. I closed the remaining distance. When he kissed me, it was deliberate. And when we finally separated, Ryan glanced at the untouched rack beside us. So, I raised an eyebrow. One more set. I laughed against his shoulder. For once, we both knew exactly what he was really asking. A few evenings later, I walked into the gym and found Ryan setting up 2 stations beside each other. For a moment, I just watched him. He adjusted my bench to the height I preferred, placed the weights where we normally kept them, then glanced toward the entrance and caught me staring. What? I walked over. After everything that happened, we technically don't have to keep being gym partners. Ryan considered that with exaggerated seriousness. No, I guess we don't. Our first real date had happened without a barbell, protein shake, or locker room excuse anywhere near it. And when we had said goodnight, neither of us had pretended it was anything except a date. Now Ryan looked at the station beside his, then back at me. Good thing needing to was never really the point. I smiled. 8 months of seemingly ordinary moments suddenly had different meanings. Ryan changing his schedule when mine changed. Ryan somehow being ready to warm up whenever I arrived. Ryan stretching 20 extra minutes into 25. One more set. One more exercise. One more walk through the parking lot. I had spent weeks asking what had happened during that failed bench press. Nothing had happened that night that created Ryan's feelings. He had simply looked down at me and finally recognized the pattern his own choices had been drawing for months. Ryan tapped the bench. You planning to stand there all night? Maybe I'm reconsidering the partnership. Too late. Oh, I already set up your station. I laughed and dropped my bag beside it. Ryan picked up a plate, then paused. There was something almost shy in his expression, which still looked strange on him. You good? Yeah. He smiled. This time, when his eyes lingered on me, he didn't look away. Neither did I. Then Ryan turned back to the rack and made room beside him. Same gym, same equipment, same 2 stations side by side. Except now there was no confusion about why he kept choosing the one next to mine.